It's 1987, and I'm in college. Our track team has just flown to Richmond, Virginia, where our coach is from. It's late one afternoon, and the team's outside playing stickball. I have no desire to participate, so I wander into the house, and sitting there is my coach's grandfather, and he's all alone. I strike up a conversation with him, and the next thing you know, we're laughing for some time. He talks about his life on the farm. I talk about my life in California and lessons that we've both learned. Finally, it's time to leave, and life carried on. 10 years later, on a Thursday afternoon, I'm going through my mail, and I open a handwritten letter from Coach Russell. He's never written me before. I read through his note, and he lets me know how much it meant to him that I spent time with his grandfather. His act of letting me know how much that meant to him all those years ago has impacted me greatly. In fact, I haven't forgotten it to this day. The simple gesture of a handwritten letter can actually change lives. It did mine. And I'm not alone. We all have this power inside of us, and the more I've thought about it, I've realized, unlike training for an athletic competition, sweating, digging deep, competing, the power to change a life can start easily with pen and paper. Handwritten letters are a gift, no matter who you are. Letters change children's lives. Children need handwritten letters. According to child education expert Sue Palmer, author of Toxic Childhood, she said, if children do not write and receive letters, they miss out on key developmental benefits. The effort of writing, painstakingly maneuvering the pencil across the page, thinking of the best words to convey a message, struggling with spelling and punctuation, is worth the effort because it's through that practice that we truly become literate. And literacy is the hallmark of human civilization. Letters change our lives for the better. Our health is better because of handwritten letters. We're busier than ever, stress is on the rise. I know that for me personally, I find writing a letter to be therapeutic. Unplugged, no electronics involved. It slows me down. And how nice is it that we can just take a few minutes out of our busy day to let someone know that we're thinking of them? Our brains are better. Studies have revealed an association between writing by hand and brain and cognitive development, enhancing neural activity more than typing can. It's also been determined that learning cursive is an important tool for cognitive development. Pretty much everything else is better off too. Science has linked expressive writing to better mood, reduced stress, and an improved overall sense of well-being. Letters change the world. We're a better, more connected world with handwritten letters. Yes, we have instant communication with technology, but there's something about real relationships that can be built through handwritten letters. Long after they are written and received, letters live on to be read, appreciated, and treasured. Unfortunately, not everyone realizes this. Statistics paint a grim picture for handwritten letters. According to the United States Postal Service, the number of letters have declined by more than half over the last 15 years, dropping from 268 million in 1990 to 148 million in 2014. That means, generally speaking, we are now receiving 1 letter a day versus 3. The problem with these numbers are that we don't know what kind of letters they are, and I'll assume they aren't handwritten. I don't care what statistics say. Handwritten letters are not a lost art. They are sacred, they are timeless, and they can never be replaced, which means you have the power to give a gift to someone that can change their life. One of the most beautiful sentiments that expresses this so clearly came to me from someone I've never met. She participated in a letter writing group for one of my closest friends. Alexandria wrote, "A handwritten letter moves us because it has within it a little spark of the person sending it. It's like a little time capsule of emotion." Who doesn't want a little time capsule of emotion? That's just beautiful. I didn't understand the power of that until I came home one day, and my husband Bob was sitting quietly in the living room. He was holding a stack of letters in his hand. These letters were written by his dad, who was in the Navy in wartime in the 1940s and 50s. Sadly, Bob's dad passed away at a young 58 years old, and it wasn't until now that he had been given these letters. Bob looked me directly in the eyes and said, "When I read his letters, it was like he was sitting in the room with me. I felt his presence." My husband clutched those letters to his chest, saying, "This is the closest I've felt to my dad since his passing in 1983. Even though the letters were written to Bob's grandparents, Bob's dad didn't know the power that these letters would have on his son years later. Handwritten letters affect future generations and can live on and on. Whether on display in a museum or handed down in a box after someone's passed on, letters preserve the memories of lives lived in a way that technology cannot. Researching for a book I'm working on, I asked 100 people, how does it make them feel to receive a handwritten letter? This is just a few of their responses, because we don't have time to hear all 100, right? One said, "I can't believe that someone would stop their world for more than a couple minutes to take time to gather stationery, write, address, seal, stamp, and mail, all for me. It makes me feel loved. It makes my heart feel full. It makes me feel like I received a magical package. It makes me feel closer to the sender. I feel appreciated because it takes thought and consideration." Even author Virginia Woolf said, "I was so pleased and excited by your letter that I trotted about all day like a puppy with a bone." And another dear friend said, "When I saw the writing on the envelope, it was as though the day immediately became brighter." In a world where people are seeking to understand, create meaningful connections, and ignite change, you already have that power inside of you to give a gift that can last forever. Are you ready to give a gift that can last forever? Start with those you love, those you're closest to. Grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, siblings. When is the last time you wrote to them to say thank you, I appreciate you, or just, hey, I thought of you and wanted you to know, whatever it is, whatever the sentiment. Those of you that are married, when is the last time you wrote to your spouse or significant other when it wasn't expected on a birthday or a holiday? Parents, when is the last time you wrote to your child and mailed it to them? Kids love getting mail because it's so rare. If you want to inspire someone to write to you, send them stationery. Who else? The list is endless. What about your boss, colleagues, employees, people you do business with? Do you write to a vendor to thank them for supplies that they provide for your company? Why do businesses display letters that are written to them? Because they're meaningful and are of value. What about your friends? New, old, new acquaintances? I write to friends that I see frequently. You should try it. It'll surprise the heck out of them. And if you have bad writing or think you have bad writing, you've got to let that go. That's just your ego. Your writing is what makes you uniquely you. And if you think you don't have time to write a letter, if you have time to scroll through Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, play Words with Friends or Candy Crush on your phone, you have time to write a letter. Take a look at what one of my childhood friends recently wrote to me in a 4-page letter. She's a busy mom with 3 kids. And she said, "If you're wondering how I'm writing this, the girls are in the bath turning into prunes." But don't worry, they were supervised. Handwritten letters make us feel good. People want to know they're worthy and they matter. The most important thing is that you're making a connection to create something that will last forever. Maya Angelou once said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." In a world where many people are feeling powerless, isn't it great to know that right now, today, we can walk out of here and do something that has the power to change a life? Imagine what the world would look like if we all wrote a handwritten letter today. It starts with one person, one pen, and one letter. Thank you.